want to really think about Frankie Beverly.
All right.
When he said, I want to thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you. I want to thank you because Black press is so important. I'm from Shreveport, Louisiana. So I've moved from the Shreveport Sun to the West Side Gazette. Essence, you out there. We coming for you. I tell stories. I tell her stories. The unique and particularized experiences of Black women and women of color standing at the intersection of healthcare and research. And with these stories, I make them, palatable. I integrate them into medical school curriculum to make better doctors. However, I used to operate in a silo in the academy as a professor. I wrote a law review article in response to Rebecca Skloot's book, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And I did what law professors do when we get mad. We write a law review article. So I wrote this article because I knew that it shouldn't just stop with the fact that, oh well, Mrs. Henrietta Lacks' cells were taken in 1951 in the segregated ward of Johns Hopkins, who had a practice of experimenting on cells because they were looking for a cure for cancer. So Henrietta Lacks submits her body to the segregated ward in 1951, and cervical cancer, the traditional treatment for cervical cancer was to insert radium rods in the vagina in order to cure, if you will. But Johns Hopkins also had a practice of taking healthy tissue cells without permission or consent. So in 1951, now I want the Black women to know we are phenomenal women. 1951, Mrs. Henrietta Lacks died of cervical cancer, but she represented the first immortal human cell line to be able to live outside of her body. So she died in 1951, but Johns Hopkins Hospital doctors in 1951 looked into television and said, we have the cure for cancer. It was a vial of what is called HeLa cells, the first two letters of her first name and the first two letters of her last name, HeLa, trying to make her anonymous, which the family didn't find out until about 20 years later. However, justice was not served until 2021. With the attorney Ben Crump, who was here, and he had to go to another event. And let's just give him a hand of applause in his absence, because I don't know, this brother does so much for so many. And what he did for the Lacks family is to take this article, Henrietta Lacks article. I wrote it in 2012. I said I was upset in 2012, so I wrote it for the Academy, who did not cite to it because it didn't meet the academic requirements. No, it was a short article, 16 pages, but it was short and to the point, because I tell you, unjust enrichment is a legal ancient principle. 3 elements. All of you about to go to law school. 3 elements: benefit conferred, awareness of the benefit, and acceptance or retention of the inequitable benefit. So I went to a conference in 2012. I said, that's it. That's it. How can we restore the humanity of Henrietta Lacks, who was dehumanized at that time? The practice was also at Johns Hopkins in 1951 is to inform women that they would be rendered infertile if they go through the surgery. Well, her medical report showed, Mrs. Lacks' medical report showed that she would not have had the surgery had she known. So that to me was another dehumanization, because you dehumanized her and you took a paternalistic view of she didn't need any more children. She had 5 children, married with 5 children. So I utilized that to try to make the case in 2012 that you dehumanized this Black woman and you took her cells without permission or consent. Rebecca Skloot's book said that they didn't have a claim because it was too long. Well, unjust enrichment, because of the uniqueness of her cells. Did y'all see me? I kind of jumped. Because of the uniqueness of her cells, they regenerate every 24 hours. Right. So what happened was the Lax family, like we do when we gather places, someone knew Ben Crump. They said, you know, you need to talk to Ben Crump. It was 2021. And they told him about the family. He said, we're going to take the case. So I'm watching television, and Attorney Ben Crump, you know him, it's genetic justice. We're going to fight. And it was like, that's my stuff. Hold on. And I know him from the National Bar Association. I had no need to text Ben Crump until that day. So I text him, hi. This is Professor Deliso Alford. I wrote about this grave injustice over 10 years ago. If you ever need a professional consultant, holler at your sister. And I didn't think I'd hear from him. That was October. January, someone contacted me and asked, would you be willing to write an amicus brief on behalf of Henrietta Lacks? And then I called Ben. I said, is this for real? He said, yes, it is, Professor. So I wrote the amicus brief. I said, I have one question. Did you cite to that article that I wrote in 2012? And the professor said, ma'am, we not only cited to your case, to your article. Your article is the catalyst and the theory of the case. Now the young people say 10 toes down. Attorney Ben Crump and Chris Seeger stood 10 toes down on a 1-count complaint of unjust enrichment. And what they said was that the benefit that's being conferred by biotech companies today that use these HeLa cells that have been regenerating since 1951, you owe the family. And so we went to the family, October 21st, 2021, they filed the lawsuit. After that, there was a motions hearing. I said Mrs. Lacks had 5 children. Mr. Lawrence Lacks was the firstborn child who was 16 years old when his mother came home, and he says that you could hear down the street her mourning, her agony of what she was going through. But he was the last surviving son. So he was 88 years old the day that Attorney Ben Crump and Chris Seeger told the judge, you do not need to dismiss this case. Let's have a motion on this case. It was a motion on for a hearing. Mr. Lawrence Lacks was present, and after that, if you Google it, you'll see this man with his hands up. And I said, Ben, who whispered to you and told you this is his victory? This was the victory that he needed. I said October 2021, 2 years, 2023, the attorneys got together and have a confidential mediation agreement. So Mr. Lawrence Lacks got a chance to get justice for his mother over 70 years. August 1st, 2023. August 26th, Mr. Lawrence Lacks died. He fought a good fight. He had done what he needed to do, and that was to get the restitution for his mother. Attorney Ben Crump and the family are still suing other pharmaceutical companies. And Attorney Crump said, one company at a time. You took it without permission or consent. The second case, the judge wrote a 76-page, judges don't write 76 pages. A 76-page memorandum and opinion stating we are denying the motion to dismiss. You have to go to court. So now everybody getting a little nervous. First case, confidential agreement. Second case, motion denied for the motion to dismiss, so we're going forward. There was a third case now against another pharmaceutical company. So it is ongoing litigation. So I tell her stories, and I'm going to indulge me with one thing. I profess to. I not only profess, but I write. I write poems. And so there was an ode to Mrs. Henrietta Lacks, and I want you to see what I saw.